right now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome inside the Fan Cave. It's a Sunday night, and we are on the air 7 nights a week, so we're always doing this program. Bob Pompeani with you until 11 o'clock if you'd like to call and comment on the events of the weekend or the week or whatever. It's 412-575-2600. That's the number. Hit me up on Twitter. It's at KDPomp. So we have a lot to get into. The Penguins today played another game, and they ended up with another loss, back-to-back home losses. So the end of the week was not a good one for Mike Sullivan. They lost the final of that Four Nations face-off to Canada, and then come home, and next thing you know, they lose yesterday in embarrassing fashion, actually, 8-3 to the Washington Capitals, and then today, 5-3 to the New York Rangers. And New York led 2-1. Penguins came back, tied the game 2-2. They took the lead at 3-2. 2 goals by Ryan Shea, somebody you wouldn't have expected to get 2 goals in the same game, but he did. And then after that, Joel Blomqvist just couldn't stop anything. And quite frankly, the Rangers only had 14 shots on goal today. They had 4 goals, not counting the empty netter at the end. At one point, the Penguins had outshot them 31-8 and still trailed 2-1. So the goaltending has not been good. And that leads us to a KDKA.com Connect question you can see right there. So if you would love to opine on this, please let us know. What is the Penguins' biggest problem? It may be more than what you see on your screen, but coaching is one of the selections, goaltending, and overall depth. Goaltending is a wide margin leader at this point at 77%. And the problem is they have a lot of money tied up to Tristan Jarry. They have expectations for guys like Joel Blomqvist, as well as others in their organization who haven't been up here yet. And they thought maybe Alex Nedeljkovic was going to be a good complement to Jarry. And quite frankly, he is what he is. He's a good goaltender as a backup. But beyond that, the more he plays, it seems, the less consistent he is. So they do have problems. And, yesterday the Penguins lost to the Capitals, and I watched the Capitals, and I was wondering how in the world they can transition. They were almost mirror images of the Pittsburgh Penguins, if you remember. They had a lot of older guys. They seem to be coming to the end of their run. They won a championship finally for Alex Ovechkin. But yet, Ovechkin's still on the roster, as you know. Tom Miller is still on the roster. John Carlson is still on the roster. Yet they've made a lot of changes in the meantime. So they have, while still competing, and they got to the playoffs last year, even though they got swept in the first round, but they got there. And this year they've added to it. They made some big moves. Logan Thompson's their goaltender. They acquired him from Vegas. Vegas at the time had Adin Hill as their goalie, and they weren't going to move off of him. So Logan Thompson said, I'd love to be traded if you could help me out, and they did. They traded him to Washington for 2 third-round picks. That's all it took. And now he's a guy who could be in contention for the Vezina Trophy. That's how good he's been. They've also gone out and, they made one free agent signing of note. They made smaller ones. But Matt Roy was one of the big ones for them. And a lot of people didn't know who he was coming from L.A. He was a 5 or 6 year guy in L.A., got a big contract, $34 million, similar to Ryan Graves in terms of term. Yet the Penguins gave Graves all that money. He's done nothing, and this guy has been terrific for them. So you add Dylan Strome, who was a former high pick, to the mix, and they've gotten a lot out of him. They brought in some guys, McMichael, from their system, as well as some others, and they've somehow turned into the best team in hockey. And that's quite hard to believe. They beat the Oilers today, and Ovechkin had a hat trick to put him 13 goals away from Wayne Gretzky's all-time mark. So it can be done, but at the same time, you got to make some shrewd moves. And Kyle Dubas so far has not made enough of them. And this offseason, certainly, they're going to have to make a lot of interesting moves to try to get back to where they want to be. Now, some people will say that's sort of a middle approach. You're trying still to compete while rebuild. I don't know. To me, it seems like they're showing signs that they are rebuilding when some of the trades they've made already, and there could be more. March 7th is the trade deadline. So let me know what you think about the Penguins at 412-575-2600 is that number to call. Also, Pitt lost yesterday, as you know. The best story in town is Robert Morris, as they won today, and they're 14-5 in the Horizon League. You didn't expect that. I think they were projected to finish 9th in the preseason coaches poll, but Andy Toole's done a very good job there, and so they're riding high right now and could get to the NCAA tournament. Whereas Pitt lost again, and their chances of getting there, unless they win the ACC tournament, are probably nothing. Slim to none, and Slim left town, and now they're stuck with the situation they are, much like their football program. Can't really improve too much. If they want to get rid of a coach, they're going to have to put a pretty big buyout clause, and it's a lot of money. I don't know if they have the kind of money to do that, so they're kind of stuck where they are. We're going to talk about all this coming up tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown with my panel, which would include Andrew Filipponi, Mark Caboli, and you'll see Mark's son in our promo picture there. He showed up tonight. Wyatt's 7 years old. And Jason Mackey also going to be in the house for that one. That's tonight, 11:35, after the late news. In the meantime, I want to hear from you. It's 412-575-2600. This is a Sunday night edition of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call right here on KDKA+. Although this is stuff that's been happening here for the last couple of years, the Penguins have chosen a road of nostalgia, and that comes from the top down. And any GM who has to abide by that knows it's going to be tough to surround guys you have with other guys and develop and hit on these things. And it's not been that way. Now, Kyle Dubas came in here with high expectations, given the fact he was in Toronto. Although he made Toronto better, he didn't give him over the hump. He's had goaltending issues there, and he continues to have goaltending issues here. So the question is, what do you do if you're them in this offseason? Quite frankly, more specifically, what do you do on March 7th at the trade deadline? Do you trade Rickard Rakell, knowing that he's been a big member of Sidney Crosby's line? Do you go that far with a rebuild, or do you try to play both sides of it? It's dangerous to play both sides because you may not make the kind of progress you need to make. Now, they have acquired draft picks over the last couple of years, and Dubas has made a big point of that. One of the moves he made in this past offseason was bringing in Hayes, and he only did that so that he could get a second-round pick that St. Louis was also offering. He wants to load up on picks. I don't know if he has enough high-end picks to make all of this happen, but if you take advantage of second and third rounders and they turn into something, then good for you. That's what you need to do. So it is going to be a long road back, it would appear. It could be shorter, like Washington, as I just described. Guys like Pierre-Luc Dubois, Andrew Mangiapane. They brought those guys in, and they were real good players for them, in addition to everything else I mentioned. So you can speed the process up, but we'll see. In the meantime, I have a lot of tweets here. Ryan Zedek says the Penguins are better off signing a proven goalie when they are ready to contend. Their drafting and developing of goaltenders the past several years is terrible. With one exception, Ryan, I will tell you that Philip Gustafsson, who is now the starting goaltender and was in the Four Nations for Minnesota, was a Penguin prospect, and they traded him for Derek Brassard. So that was Jim Rutherford back when he did that. We was trying to win, and he gave up a big asset there. But since then, they haven't had many in their system. Let's get to the lines. Rick in Peters Township is first tonight. Rick joins us on line 4. Hello, Rick. What's up?
Hey, Bob. Real quick, they need to just ride out Nedeljkovic like they did at the end of last year. Just ride him out. And my question to you is, they could have had the same thing with Hextall. If they would have just kept Hextall, they would probably be in a better position right now than Kyle Dubas.
Why? Why do you say that?
Well, I mean, okay, everybody beat up Hextall. He got Gramlin. Gramlin was doing well in San Jose. He got traded to Dallas. I just think the same philosophy is in place, and look where we're at. We're not going to make the playoffs for a third straight year. We could have not made the playoffs with Hextall for a third straight year. My question is to you,
okay, go ahead.
My question is, tell me one good thing that Kyle Dubas has done. That's it. That's all.
Well, they've acquired a lot of picks. The only thing, and that's his play right now, I think. Rick, thank you for the call. Is that he's tried to get assets so that he could build up the organization. They really haven't had many people come up of late. Drew O'Connor is probably the last guy to come up here from within and do well, and he was traded to Vancouver in that deal with Pettersson. So, I think the best thing he's done is acquire assets. Now, whether or not those assets turn into something, we will find out in time. But we may see more coming up here in terms of trades at the deadline. I think he's going to do some more action there. Why wouldn't he? They're last right now. And quite frankly, for those of you out there who like tanking as an option, they don't even have to try. They're doing it on their own. They have the second worst record in the Eastern Conference, the worst in the Metro. I think overall they're going to be in a lottery position. So you may be able to come up with a big pick or two or in this upcoming draft. So I think give Dubas a little bit of time to see what those picks turn into. But quite frankly, bringing in Carlson has backfired. That's not been a good deal. They doubled down on what they already had. They gave Graves money that he didn't really earn in terms of what he did in New Jersey, at least in my opinion. I thought he was going to be okay. I didn't think he'd be scratched half the time, but he is, and they owe him a lot of money. And then Jari, whatever the reason was there, they decided to really double down on him and give him a 5-year deal. So that's the stuff they've done. They need to change things around and do it in a hurry, at least for if you're trying to become competitive next year and bring people into the arena. Because quite frankly, if they fall out of things again next year, you're going to see the attendance really go south. 412-575-2600. Let's go to John in Lower Borough. Hello, John. How are you?
Hi, Rob. We appreciate the show as it allows fans to express their thoughts about the sports that they are passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the topic I want to mention is no one liked the NFL kickoff change. Actually, it was a joke, and it made the game more boring. I have an idea that might make it more exciting and also involve new strategies. I think it would be a good idea for the field goals to be 3 points for 30 and under yards, 31 to 49 yards, 4 points, and 50 and over, 5 points. I think that would make for an interesting betting situation. I'll hang up and listen to your response.
Yeah, I mean, that's, John, listen, I'm up for new ideas. Okay, I am. And I agree with you. First, I think the dynamic kickoff, as they called it, was anything but dynamic. I saw nothing good about that other than this whole need for more safety. But then again, it's a violent sport. How much safety can you really put into it? There's going to be violence and hitting, and it's just the way it is. So they'll tell you that they made progress with a dynamic kickoff. I hadn't seen it. It didn't sound and it didn't feel to me like they made progress. That's something that down the road, who knows, they might be able to do, but I wouldn't count on it anytime soon. The NFL is a slow-moving team when it comes to enacting new rules. Let's go out to Butch in Gibsonia. Hello, Butch. How are you?
Hey, good evening, Bob. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Hey, my only question is, how come the Penguins goaltending coach is not having an arrow pointed at him at all? I hear.
Well, if it was like baseball, right? The hitting coach and the pitching coach, they'd get a lot of heat. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I know that it still comes down to the performance of the players. Coaches can only do so much. And this is why, when we talk about goaltenders like pitchers, if you have a pitcher or two that does really well, like Jared Jones did last year, do you credit the pitching coach? And the ones that don't, you discredit him. They're all different people. You got to deal with different mindsets. All I know is that Tristan Jarry has lacked total confidence. You can try to get it back doing a lot of different things, but ultimately it's on him. When he's, out there, he has to believe in himself and make better saves. He's not, and he hasn't been able to get a chance to come back, even as dire as their goaltending situation is right now. So yeah, the goaltending coach has something to do with it, but ultimately it comes down to the player. Let's go to Bob in Fawn Township. Hello, Bob. How are you?
Hey, Bob. Great to talk to you. Love your show. Hey, do you have any idea why Mario Lemieux, we were a season ticket holder to the thing for Mike Lang yesterday. Do you have any idea why Mario Lemieux wasn't available?
Well, I don't know that he's in town for a hockey camp. I know that. He has his own fantasy camp, which raises lots of money for neonatal research and also cancer research. So I don't know what their agenda was over there. I know that he's, been in contact with the Lang family. As far as not seeing him, I can't answer that because I don't know what the situation or what they were doing with their hockey camp. So, but I know he's in town, and I know that he had nothing but great respect for Mike Lang. He came out with a statement that talked about his passion for the job he did, and he called just about every Mario Lemieux goal over the course of 4 decades, his term here in Pittsburgh. Anthony in Verona, real quick, we'll get to you. Hello, Anthony. How are you?
Hey!
Anthony.
Hey, Pittsburgh Steelers, they winning the game?
Thank you, Anthony. On that note, we'll take a break. 412-575-2600. It's the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. So it's going to be interesting. Pitt will host Georgia Tech on Tuesday. They have fallen really backwards here, second half of the season. Notre Dame yesterday played without 2 of its top 5 scorers, and yet, as bad as they are, they were able to beat Pitt. And the key to that game, if you watched it, was Notre Dame hit 8 of their last 8 free throws in the last 40 seconds, while Pitt missed 8 of them over the course of the entire game. And when you do that, you're throwing points away. That's why they call them free throws. And if you don't make them, a lot of times it is the difference of the game, and it was yesterday as Notre Dame won 76-72. So the Pirates, they played again today. They won yesterday. Matt Gorski had 6 runs batted in of the 10 they scored today. It was more pitching as the Pirates beat the Twins 5-1, and Mitch Keller looked good in 2 innings, and so did Bubba Chandler. Now, at this point, after the acquisition of Andrew Heaney, there's no way that Bubba Chandler will make this roster, you would think. But if he, at some point you're going to see him. He's that good. And to complement Skeens, Jones, Keller, Bailey Falter, and Heaney now, the one-year guy who's, although he had a 7 ERA, he's a veteran. They gave him $5 million, so he's going to be in the rotation. You know that. Oviedo's coming back from it. He's another insurance policy there, and he deserved an opportunity. But bottom line is there's no room up here for guys like Bubba Chandler, guys like Thomas Harrington, Brandon Ashcraft. Those guys are very talented pitchers. Now, I would suggest Ben Cherington, if you have these guys, and I know you want as much pitching as you can, but you have a woeful lack of bats, use one of them to go out and get some hitting. You're going to need hitting, because I imagine that the Pirates are going to be involved in a lot of one-run games. They have some outstanding starting pitching. Bullpen's not bad. So you're going to be in 2-1-3, 2-4-3 games. You need a clutch hit. You need somebody to come up with some power, and they don't have much of it on this team. Therefore, go out and get some and use some of your blue-chip pitching prospects in order to get it. Why not? That's what they're there for. If they're not going to make this roster at this point, it's either that or the trade deadline you could do something, but I would do it rather now because I think they have a chance in a division that, again, to me, is not overly talented in terms of contending, World Series contending teams. At least that's the way I look at it. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thanks for joining us. And reminder to you, 11:35 today on KDKA. It is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. Andrew Filipponi, along with Mark Caboli and Jason Mackey, will join me. We hope you do too. And we'll be back here tomorrow at 10:35, same time, same station for the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I hope you have a great week.